Live from the UATV studio, I'm your host, Mike Raven. From WildcatAuthority.com, Derek Basenden. From the Daily Wildcat, Annie Marham. And from Camp Radio's sports director, Zach Clark. This is the Dorm Room Sports Check. What's up, Wildcats? Tonight, referee goes streaking and a brawl breaks out. We're going to play a game over or under, and Derek Williams may be wishing he stayed in school another year. But first, the nation tuned in to watch the new-look Arizona team hosting UCLA, trying desperately to find an answer and a win. Stoops out Kish in a change of scenery, finally leading to some smiling on the sidelines. Right off the bat, Nick Foles connecting early with Jaron Kreiner for a 4-yard score. Minutes later, the freshman, Kadeem Carey, breaks off an 18-yard dash into the end zone. Cats lead 14-7 after one. Then something happened that nobody's seen this season. A 28-point second quarter for the Cats, led by Kreiner and Totogi, who both cashed in on 2 scores apiece. Kreiner finally showed not once, not twice, but 3 times why he's one of the best in the country. 10 catches, 101 yards, 3 scores on the day. 42-7 Wildcat halftime lead made for a very quiet second half, but another immediate move by Kish proved to show success. Kish goes with senior John Bonanno and tells Indejas to take a seat. Bonanno bangs in a 41 and 22-yard field goal along with 6 extra points. Cats win a convincing fashion, 48-12. Now, it didn't seem like anyone knew what to expect from this game, and nobody saw this big of a deficit with Arizona coming back to win. Now, Derek, was it momentum? Was it playing on national TV, a coaching change?
Yeah, and I think I'll be honest. I thought they would have a chance to win this game, but didn't really see the blowout. But I think really what it was, it's kind of a sigh of relief. This team could kind of take a collective fresh breath of air, so to speak, with the new coaching staff. They're pretty much starting over from scratch. So I think everyone kind of realized there's not really a lot of pressure left on the season, considering how well things are, or well, bad things are going. But I think they kind of just stepped back and, just had fun out there.
Well, I think
it's as simple as that.
I think one of the things the Wildcats benefited from was a little bit of anonymity. UCLA wasn't sure what to game plan for. The Wildcats were pretty quiet from the Stoops firing onto the game, and there was no tape to review from Kish leading the team. He's never been a head coach before. For Stoops, he had 7.5 years of film to go back and look at, and they just didn't have it this time. I think the Wildcats benefited greatly from that.
And I think they kept it simple. And I think that kind of ended up working in their favor because you're right, they didn't have any tape. They just kind of took everything. It's kind of going back to basics. That's kind of what you have to do when things aren't working out. You might as well try something else.
Yep. And now, Annie, Arizona needed the change of scenery. A lot of smiles and positive reinforcement from Tim Kish on the sidelines, and that's obviously a different thing than we've seen with Mike Stoops' anger and frustration he's been showing over the past several years. Now, how do you feel that Kish handled the pressure and performed his first game as the new interim head coach?
Well, when I spoke with Kish after one of his practice, you could just tell the demeanor is so different. He said that he wanted just to remind the kids about what football's really about, and that's having fun. Like you guys said, this team has nothing to lose, and I feel like a big burden was lifted off their shoulders. Not every single time you messed up, you weren't going to run off the field and get chewed out. They knew that they were going to play the game that they love to play, and they got a pat on the back for it. So I was happy with the way things went.
Yeah, and I think to be fair, though, when you talk to players about Stoops, I don't think you'd always see him on the sidelines yelling at referees, yelling at assistant coaches, but I think the players in general kind of liked him. And really, at least the ones I've talked to, they weren't getting yelled at any more than any other coach would yell at their players. But Stoops, I think, was just a little too high energy, just so much expectation put on by the fans in the program. And it's just, like you said, I think it's great to have a change of scenery. And who knows? I mean, the schedule's getting lighter. It's only getting easier from here. Maybe rack up some wins.
Well, Derek made a great point. One of the things that Greg Burns said was something that one of the reasons that Stoops is sitting at home right now is because he couldn't figure out what to do with his kicking game. And, I mean, you look at the numbers, 2 for 2, including a 41-yard field goal, 6 for 6 from extra points. Where was that?
Yeah.
Where has that been all year?
Well,
this kicking roulette.
Why did it take so long for that to happen? I just really
That's
don't
terrible.
understand.
Well, that brings it. A lot of people have been talking, too, that maybe the team has been holding back and not playing to their full potential over Stoops. I mean,
Not this Thursday. That's definitely not what happened there. So, I don't know.
I think look at the UCLA side of the ball. Let's be a little realistic, though. UCLA is ranked What's that?
It's not a very good football team.
No, it's not. Exactly. That's what I'm going to bring up. They're ranked 10th out of 12 teams in rushing defense and 10th in total defense. So it's not like this is literally the worst defense Arizona's played yet, besides maybe NAU's. So obviously the schedule is proving to be helping the Cats a little bit here. And Kevin Prince isn't really a guy that can light it up through the air. He had a good game, 286
Well, let's be
yards,
honest.
but-
Richard Breho is their guy, and he's hurt.
And he's
That's
been
why
gone.
he's not
That's
playing.
true.
So when you can't play well on defense or offense, and then
Unreal.
your special teams, I think UCLA's kicker missed 1 or 2 extra field goals. You're not going to be a very good team if you can't really do one aspect well.
Well,
let alone
Derek,
all three.
while you're on the subject of defense, Arizona's looked really, really good. They held UCLA, all their rushers, to 37 total yards on the ground, and they kept the pressure coming all night. I mean, talk to me about Arizona's defense.
And I think it was a little bit of UCLA's lack of offense as well as explosive defensive play. Like we were saying, Kevin Prince, 17 for 35, 286 yards through the air, and a touchdown. Not bad, but really UCLA on the ground, they really couldn't get anything going. And some of that credit you have to give to Arizona's front four on the defensive end. They stepped up this game and really proved it out. They really won the battle at the line of scrimmage all day long. And it helps when you're playing with a league. It really does. You can take more gambles on defense and try to make bigger plays. I think that's what they did.
And UCLA did have a slower offense than most of the teams we've played, but I saw a different defense out there. We weren't waiting for the ball to go somewhere. We were reading the plays, we were making moves, and we were keeping the pressure up, like you said, all night. And so I think if, we needed a game like this to be able to kind of get back in that rhythm, let the players and Kish get their rhythm in, and now hopefully we can carry that on to next week.
Well, and UCLA was suffering from Arizona syndrome. No defense, couldn't run the football. I mean, we've seen that from an Arizona standpoint for 5 weeks in a row leading up into this game. So it was interesting, to say the least, to see it on the other side of the football.
And then you look at the Arizona defensive front four. Like I said before, they weren't running a lot of blitzes. They were just man-to-man beating UCLA's front four. And when you can do that, there's not much you can do as an offense.
And Arizona's 2-5 now. We saw what they're capable of doing this game, regardless of what we say about UCLA. If they're not that good of a team, we saw what they can do. Now, Annie, what can we expect from Arizona the remainder of the season?
Well, remainder of the season, I'm going to start with just the Washington game. And I know it's on the road, but I'm hoping that we can, bear down with the cold weather and make some plays happen. And if they can get these, Kreiner and Foles can connect, and we had a lot of just personal talent just shine through. So, and I'm hoping that John Bonanno will keep the streak that he had against UCLA.
Yeah, and I think that you're right when you say you got to take it one game at a time. Arizona needs to compartmentalize this season. The season as a whole is probably lost, barring a miraculous comeback, but you take it one win at a time and you develop going forward into the next season and beyond. I mean, and you're also auditioning for a potential new head coach, and so the better you do, usually the better you can draw.
Well, Arizona, they're going to have to take it one game at a time, but I'm not on the team, so I'm not going to take it one game at a time. I think they've got some wins. They can play freely. You're going to see kind of how they played against UCLA. That not much to lose. And I think really what you saw from this team, they have confidence now, and I think that's huge. Football especially, it's a huge mental game. If you don't have confidence when you take the field, especially in a division like the Pac-10, a conference like the Pac-10, you're not going to win very many games. So they have the confidence. I think we saw that they have the talent. I think they're going to be able to scrap out maybe 2, 3, 4 more wins at least.
And we'll see. Arizona's going to take it one game at a time starting next week as they travel to Washington to take on the Huskies. But 4 players will start serving suspensions that day. Find out why when we come back. UATV 3 UATV 3 When I turn on the TV, I turn it to channel 3, cause they got all the greatest shows that I've been waiting to see. It's entertaining to me, cause it's pertaining to me and all the other Wildcats in the student body. We're broadcasting live to all the residence halls, so all y'all's in the halls, turn your TVs on to channel 3 for Sheezy, so you can see me and all the other happy people down at UATV 3. Right before halftime of the Thursday night football game, a man dressed as a referee ran onto the field and began streaking. Security immediately tackled the streaker to the ground. During this, players on both sides of the ball began exchanging words, shoving each other, and throwing punches, eventually leading to a bench-clearing brawl. On Friday, the Pac-12 Conference announced suspensions of 10 players involved in the brawl to take immediate effect next week. Pac-12 Commissioner Larry Scott released a statement saying, "The conference is extremely disappointed in the actions of the student athletes involved in this incident. It is unacceptable behavior and violated conference rules." Now, 4 Arizona players are facing suspensions for next week against Washington. The fight completely unnecessary, Zach, and the Pac-12 made that known. Why fight right before the half?
Why fight at all? I don't know. I don't know. I was at the game, but I was not inside of that skirmish. I have no idea why. I don't know who said to who. I don't really care. There's no room for such childish, sloppy behavior on the football field, especially when you have a head coach, Mick Neuheisel, that is on the verge of losing his job anyway, and that was probably
icing on the cake.
That had to have been for me. That's it.
And I think, but you look at it from an Arizona perspective, at least you saw some emotion
Passion.
from this team. You saw the will to not only fight in the game, but I mean, sometimes it comes down. Emotions boil over. What was the score at that point? Like 42.
Arizona was up 42-7.
It was well in hand. It was 42-7. Things are going to get out of hand. And I think that's when you see most of these fights. When things are out of hand, frustration boils down. You don't know what happens on the bottom of those piles. I'm sure guys get poked in the eye. And
biting fingers.
All kinds of stuff. You hear the stories all the time of NFL players saying that just nasty, nasty stuff happens on the bottom of those piles. So UCLA, Arizona, it's a rivalry. Stuff's going to happen. I don't think it was that big of a deal, really. I mean, it was a little embarrassing, but I can see why it happened.
And I want you to continue, Derek. Does this bench-clearing brawl and its consequential suspensions, take away from Arizona's win and the way that they performed?
No, I don't think so at all. I really don't. It's unfortunate to see what happened. Obviously, you never want to embarrass your conference like that. And the Pac-10 made a pretty tough statement, obviously, saying they will not accept that kind of behavior, suspending 4 Arizona players and 6 UCLA players for the next game or the first half of the next game. But I don't think it takes away from how this team performed. It's hard to see live who started the fight, but honestly, when someone punches you back, you're not just going to stand there and take it. This goes along with pride, especially when you're on the football field. This is a brutal game. This isn't volleyball, or not to take anything away from that, or soccer where you're
physical contact.
The goal of the game is to tackle the guy every single time down. So there's a natural violence involved in the game. So you're going to see that stuff.
And I think if we would have continued to play with that kind of bad sportsmanship, it may have taken away from the way we played. But the fact that they went out their second half, they played their game, they didn't waste their time with tacky fouls or anything like that. I think that shows that the respect is there for Kish, and we were able to say, fight's a fight, but now we're going to play the game.
Now, I agree with you both. It doesn't affect the way they performed, but it affects the way they will perform. They lose 4 defensive backs and 3 defensive backs and a linebacker going up against one of the best quarterbacks in the Pac-12 and Keith Price next weekend on the road.
Yeah, and I agree with that.
It could affect the future.
That comes with the territory, though. And I think, but I agree with Andy. Things really actually could have gone a lot worse. That was only a halftime. Things could have boiled into the second half, and they didn't take it onto the field. At least in the field of play.
And there were no injuries from that either.
Right.
And now, Annie, I never understood this in football. Players are completely protected by padding. They're wearing helmets with face masks on. Why do these players think it's a good idea to punch each other? I don't understand what they think they're going to get out of that.
You know what? It's guys. If you hey,
come on.
If somebody hits you, punches you, you know what I mean? There's no I'm wearing a helmet, so I'm not going to fight back. But it really makes no sense. It's not like hockey, where the gloves come off, you can pull the shirt up and over the head, which would be
no helmets, no gloves.
Yeah. So
and it's more the player throwing the punch is more likely to hurt themselves than they are the other opponent.
Yeah, you're in the middle of the game. Obviously, you're not really thinking about that. But it's funny for us to watch. Well, it's not funny. Well, actually,
when you think about somebody punching somebody in the helmet, it is funny.
Yeah, it's pretty comical when you actually see it. I've saw it a few times and I laughed. But like we said before, the nature of this particular sport, a lot of violence is involved, and you have to be a pretty special individual to play the game of football and to compete at that high level. So obviously, testosterone's going to be going. It's the spirit of competition. Sometimes it goes overboard, and you're not really thinking about the precautions.
Sure.
Now, moving away from the fight right now, Zach, why do fans feel the necessity to do crazy things like streaking on the field during nationally televised games? And it's not like this is the first time it's happened. I mean, how embarrassing is it for the University of Arizona for people all over the country watching students do things like this? And I mean, and what are the students thinking? I mean, are they craving that much attention that they need to do this for a larger audience?
Yeah, first of all, I can't answer why somebody would do that. I've never done it, so I don't know. And I got to ask you this, though. What's more embarrassing, having a streaker rush the field or having your students rush the field prematurely in the game 2 years ago against Oregon? I'll take the naked guy. I'll take the naked guy. I think that's better. Less embarrassing than having 10,000 drunk students make a mistake and decide to stand on the field as time still remain in the football game. So I'd rather have the streaker any day.
Yeah.
That's easy.
You know, I agree with that. And going back to the Oregon, almost on a serious note here, I mean, I truly got hit in the head during that game. That's embarrassing. I think for this, it's more embarrassing just for the individual. I think he was on some local news show after not understanding why he got in trouble for doing what he did. I'm like, dog, you're you're on the field naked, dude. You can't do that.
My thing is, if you're gonna run the field, streak the field with your Twitter name on your chest, you gotta have a more exciting Twitter. I mean, it was like he texted like his friend at Brian, "Hey, come pick me up from the gym." That was his last tweet before he had, thousands of people try and follow him on Twitter.
At least say, "Marry me, Tim Kish" or something.
Something exciting.
He said his goal was to get on Wipeout, the television show on ABC.
Oh, okay.
Did he accomplish that?
I don't think
We'll
so.
see.
No, I don't.
Maybe behind bars.
I was going to say you'll have to get out of jail first.
All right. Well, I want to end this discussion with something fun to do. I mean, while we're on the topic of fans doing crazy things, starting with you, Derek, I want you to each tell me your favorite crazy sports fan memory, either college or professional.
Okay, this is easy for me. It's actually another streaker moment. It was this season. You guys will probably remember this. Houston Astros, New York Mets. This guy literally ran on the field from right field stand. Annie's nodding her head. She must have picked this one. But he climbs up the center field walk. And keep in mind, at Minute Maid Park, there's that hill. So he climbs over that. Security guard tries to get him. He climbs another level onto some green patch of grass. I crack up still when I see this. And then dodges another guy, climbs over the second deck, and he escapes.
The most elusive streaker in the history of the universe.
I honestly had to give him props. That's awesome.
That was mine as well,
work,
and that is why I was shaking my head, because never to condone streaking or interrupting a game. I'm here to watch the game, but it's always entertainment. And for this time, the fact that he actually got away, he put a little more effort into it. It wasn't just, I'm going to run on the field and probably get tackled.
If you're going to do it right.
Yeah, and
sounded like he was
had
the
to
George
get
of
away.
the jungle streaking.
He was just up and over everything.
I see. Well, mine I have two, and the dirty world of NFL football and the Super Bowl. I have two. One, I mean, so long as we're talking about people being naked, Janet Jackson and her wardrobe malfunction, or if you lived in Arizona 2 years ago during the the Steelers and the Cardinals, somebody hacked into Cox cable, and there was pornography shown during halftime. So pick one.
Wow, Zach, interesting picks for you there.
Thank you.
Very
Thank
interesting.
you.
It just seems like streaking is entertainment. Next up, though, 5 topics, 5 numbers, and 3 decisions from the analysts. Stay with us.
I see those clones looking down on me, but unlike those clones, this dog is free. Oh Lord, it's a dog's life. Oh Lord, it's a dog's life, dog's life. Oh Lord, it's a dog's life.
Welcome back. It's time to play Over or Under. I'm going to introduce 5 topics to these guys along with a number. Each analyst will then tell me whether they think the number is too low or too high with a quick explanation. You guys ready?
Let's do it.
All right, Annie, starting with you. The football team finishes the season with 4.5 wins. Over or under?
I'm going over on this one. I think we can pull it out against Colorado. I think we can pull it out against Louisiana Lafayette. And I'm going to give us the win over Utah. So that's over for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna take those same 3 right there. I mean, that alone will get you over, even though I do think that they have a better chance of beating Arizona State than either one of these two will tell you, but that's for another day.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to say they have 0 chance of beating Arizona State, but I'm in a good mood today. I'll take the over. I'm not sure why. They've only looked impressive in one game, But yeah, Utah at Colorado. Colorado's bad, dude. They're down 45-0 at half.
Don't let your sister hear that.
Go Buffs, yeah.
All right, over. Zach, for the next one, men's basketball team finishes their season ranked 13th in the nation, over or under?
I'm going to make a pretty unpopular pick, and I'm going to go under. Now, I think that Arizona right now is going to – I think they'll finish where they are right now, 16. I think Arizona will go no farther than the Sweet 16 this season. And so if you can't break the Sweet 16, I don't see you breaking 13 in the country.
You don't see us going past Sweet 16?
Nope.
Derek Williams is a pretty big part of that team.
Yep.
But with the new freshman and Perry leading the team, I think that we could go over, and I think we can get past Sweet 16. At least in my bracket, that'll be where I fall if they fall. So.
Well, I'm gonna kind of.
I hope I'm wrong.
I'm gonna kind of cheat with this question. I'm gonna go over with an asterisk. I'm gonna say.
What, are you taking steroids? You cheating like that?
Yeah, I'm taking steroids. Right.
Well,
Look at me. Am I taking steroids?
The asterisk and the cheating.
But
Sorry.
Arizona's gonna need a star, and I think Nick Johnson or Josiah Turner both have the probability to do that, and they've got a lot of guys that need to step up. But I think a top 2 spot in the Pac-10 or Pac-12, excuse me, will put them in contention for a 13th spot around the end of the season. So I'm not sure if they'll make it to the Sweet 16, but at the end of the regular season, I say they're ranked in the top 13.
I think they'll be there and in the top 13 at the end of the season, going into the tournament. But I'm talking about the end of the end.
I misread the question then. But
No. I mean, they're both valid points. I don't think anybody.
They're all valid
13,
points.
So I'm gonna say over.
All right.
Derek, next one. Sean Hogan came on the show last week. Remember, he's already won 2 national championships. His first year with Arizona. Question is, Sean Hogan wins 1.5 national championships with Arizona in the future.
I wasn't here last week, so I'm going to try and be as unbiased as possible. I'm going to go under. I mean, 1 national championship is quite something to do. Look what Lute Olson did and the legacy he had, and he only had 1. Stoops has 0. Well, he's gone now. And
Kish has 0.
If Sean Miller gets 1, well, Kish has 0 too, obviously. He's got 1 win, dude. So I think Sean Miller, even if he gets 1, I think that's a success. But two national championships. Let's slow this down a little bit. Let's just try to win some games first.
I'm going over. He has 1.
We're the play-by-play, but
I am unbiasedly going. I'm going over. He already has 1 national championship at a much smaller school in Michigan, and if you spend some time with the guy and you hear him talk, he reminds me very much of a Sean Miller prototype. Of a coach, and he's really got these kids convinced that this is going to be a good hockey program. And if you convince the kids, the wins will come after. And I think eventually he'll get there, but it will depend. I'll use your little asterisk as well. It will depend on how long he stays at Arizona.
That's what I was going to say.
Well, I mean, if he has great success early and gets picked up by a much bigger program, then he'll never get to 2.
Right. That's what I was going to say. They're going to start small, start with wins. So going under for now. 1's great. One's a great number. We haven't had that, so hopefully he can put 1 on the board for us.
And he seemed confident last week, too, even this year. And next question, Annie. Nick Foles has 18 touchdown passes so far this year. He finishes the season with 29.5 touchdowns, over or under?
I'm going over. I think against Colorado, he's going to at least have hopefully 3. I think against Louisiana Lafayette, there's 3. Utah, definitely 1 or 2. Arizona, definitely 1 or 2. So I'm going over for him.
Man, I'm going under. That's a lot. There's 5 games left, and I mean, obviously, you look at Louisiana Lafayette. How long does he last in that game?
Yeah.
I mean, does he make it to the first half, 3 quarters? I don't know. But I'm going to go under, but just barely.
I'm going to go under as well, and I don't think you want him to get over 29 TDs, and I'll tell you why. Because if he doesn't, I think the running game is doing more than its fair job, and you're getting more rushing touchdowns, which is what you want to be a more balanced offense. So I'm going to go under. I think it'll be close. He might even push. Can I take a push?
No.
29, 28? Okay, I'll stick under.
It was 29.5. You're going to throw a half a touchdown pass? There's no push here.
I think this is good, though, because I think Arizona's going to be playing better. I don't think he will be playing the whole Louisiana Lafayette game, and I don't even know if he'll be playing the whole Colorado game, honestly. They are a bad football team. So.
All right, Zach, I know you've been waiting for this one. Soccer team has 1 win this year, 3 games left. They finished the season with 1.5 wins, over or under?
Yeah, there's how many left? 3?
3 games?
I don't think it matters. I'm going under. I don't see them winning again. I mean, they have struggled not only to win games, but even to get on the board in multiple, if not double-digit games. So I'm going under, way under.
But soccer is a game where, 1 goal is all it takes. So
yeah, which is what they've lost by about 50 times. 1-0 is the score consistently.
Correct, but For
There's
the
always
love
the
of
but.
the game, soccer for me, I'm going to give it to the girls and go over. And for good karma for my upcoming intramural game.
Oh,
I'm
nice.
going over.
Oh,
Always an ulterior
You got it, girls.
motive.
There you go.
Yeah, I don't care if there's 50 games left. I'm going under on this one. Keep in mind, their one win over Oregon came on a penalty kick, which was very questionable in the box from what I've understood. So, honestly, look, there's always next season. There's always next season. That's all I'm going to say on that one.
Hey, I know we said we're only doing 5 topics, but we're having fun right now, and I'm going to throw a bonus one out to Derek. Over or under, Zach spends 26 seconds today in the final word talking about Detroit sports.
Oh, man, this one's easy for me. I'm going to go under because he has nothing good to talk about. Your teams are pretty bad right now, dude. Lions, 2 straight.
That's coming from a Rams fan.
Tigers
What, 0-6?
I'm a little bitter.
I'm sorry.
I'm a little bitter.
How'd you guys do? How'd the Eagles win the playoffs? Oh, that's right.
So
They didn't make the playoffs.
No comment.
Bummer.
Okay, we'll wait for you guys to talk in the final word for that later. Coming up next, why Derek Williams leaving school early may have been a poor decision.
I'm Derek Williams, the former U of A Wildcat. You're watching UATV. Don't change the channel.
Listen to this track, bitch. Bitch.
Derek Williams passed up another year at Arizona to enter the NBA draft. After being selected number 2 overall by the Minnesota Timberwolves, his opportunity to play has been postponed. Because of the NBA lockout, Derek isn't making money and he's not playing basketball. In town this weekend, he could only watch the Arizona basketball team play their annual red and blue game, wondering if he made the right decision. But there's no going back. All Williams can do now is sit and wait. Now, if you're a college basketball player knowing you're a lottery pick, you enter the draft. There's no question at that. You know, Williams is in a tough position with the lockout. Do you think he regrets now not playing another year at Arizona?
Well, I'm sure it's always in the back of his head. You know, he comes back in town, he sees the energy. I'm sure he wants to be out there, but when I spoke with him, he said he has no regrets. They knew this was a possibility. And, you know, he said he's happy. It was time for him to move on. And he knows that the team's in great hands, and he's happy with where he is, even though he has to just sit and wait.
Yeah, and I think, though, it was tough for him, regardless of the situation, even though I think Andy is absolutely correct. But I think if it was up to him and he could have stayed here forever and gotten paid for it eventually, he would have. You can tell, and I was in the post-game press conference, you could tell that it was hard for him to answer questions about not playing and not being with guys he considers to be his brothers. I think that was very difficult for him coming back here yesterday.
And I think that's the key thing. He can't get paid to play
Right.
college basketball, so I think that's a big reason. And you look at the amount of money he will be making. The NBA is not going to be dead forever. They're eventually going to play basketball, and it eventually is going to be good. But he's still taking classes here at the U of A, and I'm sure it brings back memories, especially that red and blue game. I mean, amazing atmosphere. Yesterday it was, I think. I think there's a line around McHale for a scrimmage. That's awesome.
14,601 people. It was a sellout.
And it was amazing. But back on Williams making money, you know, he hasn't played an NBA game yet. So he's making as much money as us right now. Nothing. You know, he did just sign a new endorsement with Under Armour, which is a big move for him.
He's making more than me.
So now he is. But, I mean, how big of a move was that for him to sign with Under Armour? Right?
Well, I mean, I think you have to make money. You have to eat somehow. And I know that for a guy like him, the money is going to come. But in the immediate future, what else was there besides endorsements? I mean, of course, those guys get extend a line of credit from their agents usually who have plenty of money to cover them. But, I mean, it's a big deal for him to be put as somewhat of a face of a brand. And that's a pretty large brand. It's not Nike or Reebok, but, I mean, it's up there.
It's getting there, though. I think
It is.
I think Under Armour, when you look at that, don't sell it short. This is an up-and-coming company, and I think just look at it in the last 5 or so years, it's just been rising. I think it's number 2 behind Nike in total revenue, I was reading somewhere. But let's use Tiger Woods as an example. He gets most of his money from endorsements, even now post-scandal. I mean, yeah, he wins a lot of tournaments.
No, not anymore.
Well, okay, so bad example. But most of the money, endorsements are huge. That's
Absolutely.
my point. They're very important, and I think D-Will doing a good job so far of lining up with solid sponsors.
Now, Derek, too, I mean, transitioning to a professional sport from college is a huge leap. And I mean, for Derek Williams being an NBA rookie unable to associate or practice with his team right now, I mean, do you think that's going to affect him when the lockout eventually ends?
Yeah, it's got to, but I think it's going to affect everyone. Really, when you look at Derek Williams and you look at all the rookies, I think they're all going to be affected equally. Nobody has any advantage here or disadvantage. No one's playing with their new teams right now, so I think it's basically about work ethic. He's got to go and just work on his game, do what he knows how to do. I think he's already working with various pros already. So his work ethic, I think, is going to put him one step above the rest.
Yeah, and that's something nobody's ever going to question is Derek Williams' work ethic. He's been one of the hardest working kids in basketball since he entered college at Arizona 2 years ago, so I don't think that's going to be an issue.
No, I completely agree. And I think when you kind of look back to the NFL lockout and those private training camps they held, whether they look good or not, who knows? But maybe I know some of the NBA players are thinking about going on tour and doing some kind of unofficial practices. So he's going to get his work in.
He says he's back home. He's still training every day. He knows what he needs to do. And this weekend, overheard him talking, to some of the players that were down here, and they were giving him tips, how to stay in shape, how to stay up with the game. And so I think he's got it down. He'll be fine once they can finally figure out this lockout.
And to go more into that, Annie, when the lockout does end, we just talked about his hard work ethic, and regardless of the lockout, he's working hard and trying to stay in shape and get ready for it. Now, do you think when the lockout finally ends, he makes an immediate impact as an NBA player? And also, do you think he'll be called an elite player down the road?
Well, I think you go number 2 draft pick overall, you're going to have a lot of attention on you. And going to, a team like the Timberwolves, I think he's got a chance to shine there and a chance to get in rhythm with those players and see what the NBA is like. It's a lot different than college basketball, but I'm not sure if he'll have the same exact hype he did here, being the big man that he was here, but I think he's got a good chance, and, within time, if he can stay with it, depending on, where he goes next after the Timberwolves, I think we'll be hearing his name for a long time.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it makes an immediate impact, but I think down the road he will be considered an elite player. His work ethic, his size, and his ability to play 3, 4, and 5. Not so much the 3, but definitely the 4 and the 5 makes him versatile. And I think he can be effective in more ways than one. He can shoot, he can rebound, a good free throw shooter. So I think his time will come. There's no question.
And I think the situation that he finds himself in, the system the coaches run, is going to have a huge impact on how ultimately successful he will be. I think him playing a 3 is going to be more effective than him playing a 4. So I think there's a lot of variables that go into it, but the bottom line is this kid's a hard worker, and he's going to make his own breaks.
I bet he does better than my favorite number 2 overall draft pick, Darko Milicic, 2004.
Yeah, that's
2003, excuse me.
And again, we don't want to talk about that.
I don't want to talk about that one, man.
You average 4 points a game, you're better than him. So.
All right, Zach, I want to wrap this one up. Williams couldn't help get Arizona to the Final Four last year. They fell just short. The team's ranked 16 this year heading into the season. How far can they go without the presence of him?
Yeah, and this is something that I touched on earlier. Not only losing Derek Williams, but Lamont Jones, the 2 visible leaders of that squad from last season, replacing them with 4 very talented freshmen, with 4 very raw freshmen. I see the Arizona Wildcats in the Sweet 16. I'm not sure if I feel comfortable at this point in time putting them any farther than that.
Yeah, I'd agree. I hate to keep agreeing with you on this, but I think next year's their year. Next year really is going to be the year. They're going to learn to play with each other this year, learn the system. They're going to need to establish some leaders. Solomon Hill, can he be that guy? Can Jesse Perry be that guy? And really the key, if this team wants to make a deep run, either Josiah Turner or Nick Johnson has to step up. This, in college basketball, this is a point guard. It's a guard-driven league. You need a guard to be the star of this team if you want to make a run into the Elite Eight or Final Four. So I think Josiah and Nick are going to be key.
All right. Go ahead. Go ahead,
We'll
Annie.
go.
Go ahead. I'm not going to
We'll
cut
go.
you off.
We'll go.
I'm not cutting you off. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that during a press conference when we were talking with Kyle Fogg, he was just saying how vocal Nick is and how vocal all the freshmen are, how hardworking they are. They're out there, at practice every day working on it. They don't think they've earned anything yet. So I think with the work ethic and if they can get in rhythm, I think I need a little more time to be able to say how far they're really going to go. But I think it's going to be a good season.
Well, Arizona begins their season under Sean Miller taking on Valparaiso November 7th. Now it's time to look at scores around the school. Soccer team falling big against UCLA 6-1, and again today to USC 1-0. Volleyball, too, couldn't get it done this week, falling to Stanford and Cal. But on the bright side, the softball team continues and ends the Fall Ball Classic undefeated, mercy ruling Cyprus twice last week. More scores. The swimming men and women team defeated UNLV this weekend The hockey team went to Iowa State, who's highly ranked, won the first game 3-2 in a shootout, but fell in another close game 4-2. They slipped to number 23 in the country. Men's basketball game, Red-Blue game, which we talked about earlier. The Red team wins 67-54. Jesse Perry led all scorers with 20 points. Now, what to look forward to next week. We're going to see a lot of Washington. Football team traveling to Washington next Saturday. The soccer team hosting both Washington and Washington State here. And the volleyball team also traveling to Washington to play both schools. Couple more games. The hockey team playing Texas Friday and Saturday. We're going to figure out where the ice is going to come from in that game. Men's basketball taking on Seattle Pacific in another exhibition match. And the cross-country team heading to Litchfield Park, Arizona for the Pac-12 championships. It's now time for the final word. Each analyst, like always, will have 30 seconds to discuss the topic of their choosing. Derek, you're on the clock.
Well, I wish I could take one out of Zach's book here and talk about how great my teams are doing, but that's just not the case. The Rams 0-6, but what I can talk about is my fantasy football team. 7-0, thanks to Breeze just putting up ridiculous numbers in the first half. 30 points for him. I think he could have beat my opponent just by himself this week, so keep trucking, boys.
You're going to leave 15 seconds in the bank, too.
Yeah, don't need more than that, honestly.
Okay, all right. Annie, 30 seconds on the clock.
All right, well, I've got 3 numbers for my 30 seconds. I've got 8. That's the number of successes that John Bonanno had. He made his 2 first career field goals and 6 extra points. And then I've got the number 355. That's the number of days since the U of A has beaten FBS team, making it the second time UCLA was the one we beat last time. And then my next number is 200. We finally broke 200 for the running game with a total of 254 yards, making that a record for U of A. Oh, look at that.
2 seconds to spare, and now we're going to bring in the closer, Zach Clark, to finish it off. 30 seconds on the clock. Let's do it.
You know, I have half a mind to talk about Detroit because it would ruin Derek's over-under, but I'm not going to. I'm going to talk about,
Yes.
You're safe. You're safe. You're covering, yeah. I'm going to talk about the Red-Blue game and what a moment it was for over 14,000 fans. It felt more like, I know I've heard of Christmas in July, but it felt more like March here in October. I mean, an unbelievable amount of NBA talent. 10 NBA players in the house, including Jason Terry, who was honored for winning his NBA championship, the 6th Arizona Wildcat to do so. So nothing but good going forward for the Wildcats.
Right
I got
on time. That was
I like
good.
that analogy.
You
That was
did
a
it
good
right on
one.
time. Well,
Yeah.
unfortunately, time's running out for tonight, but don't worry. We'll have some tricks and treats for you next Sunday night for the DRSC Halloween special. For Zach, Derek, and Annie, I'm Mike Rabin. See you next week.